Hello and a very good evening. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. It's 6:30 p.m. time for Verdict 2015 with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this evening's Verdict headlines. Staggered elections in Bihar come to an end with the last vote being cast a couple of hours ago. Strong voter turnout in the final phase of Bihar Assembly polls. Fate of 827 candidates sealed in the fifth and final phase of polling in Bihar. 59.46% voter turnout recorded. Women outnumber men even in this phase. Members of both alliances claim victory. BJP Shahnawaz Hussain claims two-thirds majority for the NDA. JDU Chief Sharad Yadav says the Grand Alliance will win comfortably. And we'll look back at all the 5 phases of the polls in Bihar and focus on some of the issues that were raked up by the political parties over the last 2 months. Well, curtains came down on the staggered elections in Bihar a short while back. High voter turnout of over 59% was witnessed in the fifth and final phase, with serpentine queues seen across the 14,709 polling stations. The focus now shifts to counting day on Sunday. Here's a detailed report. Voting for the fifth and final phase of elections in Bihar began at 7 a.m. in the morning. The fate of 827 candidates in 57 constituencies spread over 9 districts was sealed earlier today. The districts that went to polls were Madhubani, Darbhanga, Supaul, Madhepura, Saharsa, Araria, Kishanganj, Purnia and Katihar.
ये एक रिकॉर्ड टर्नआउट रहा है. अभी तक के जितने भी इलेक्शन हुए उसमें सबसे बेहतर प्रदर्शन टर्नआउट की दृष्टि से रहा है.
Voting began at 7 a.m. in 14,709 polling stations. The polling came to an end at 3 p.m. in 2 constituencies due to security reasons and at 5 p.m. in the rest of the 55 constituencies.
हर चीज़ का सुविधा होना चाहिए. बच्चे लोग को आगे भविष्य के लिए नौकरी सर्विस होना चाहिए. पढ़ लिख के सब बेरोजगार है तो उसके लिए तो सरकार को करना जरूरी ना है.
अच्छी सरकार चाहिए जो विकास का काम करे, सड़क, बिजली, पानी ये सब व्यवस्था करे, साफ सफाई रखे.
शिक्षा का स्तर बहुत ज़्यादा गिर गया हुआ है. यहाँ कोई भी सरकारी स्कूल के टीचर जो है वो अपने बच्चे को सरकारी स्कूल में नहीं पढ़ाना चाहते हैं. कोई भी जो आपको उच्च पदाधिकारी या कोई भी वो अपना इलाज सरकारी अस्पताल में नहीं कराना चाहते हैं. तो इससे ज़्यादा स्तर क्या गिरेगी सरकार की.
Let's take a look now at some of the crucial numbers of the fifth phase. A total of 57 constituencies went to polls in the fifth phase. 827 candidates were in the fray in this phase, out of which 58 were female candidates. A total of 14,709 polling stations were used. 1.55 crore people were eligible to cast their vote. The fate of several heavyweights was sealed in this phase, including Senior Minister Bijendra Prasad Yadav of the JDU from Supaul, RJD Legislature Party leader Abdul Bari Siddiqui from Alinagar, Minister Narendra Narayan Yadav from Alamnagar and Lalu Prasad's Man Friday Bola Yadav from Bahadurpur.
पूरा बिहार जो रिपोर्ट है पूरा स्वीप कर गया. 5वां फेज भी कहीं बीजेपी का तापरा 190 सीट से कम नहीं आएगा गठबंधन को. बिहारी लोग वोटर नहीं दिया भाजपा को. भाजपा को देश में रखना एक दिन भी देश को टुकड़ा टुकड़ा करने के बराबर है.
लालू जी और नीतीश कुमार जी और कांग्रेस पार्टी बिहार से हट करके, बिहार के विकास और तरक्की से हट करके बिहार के मतदाताओं को गुमराह करने की कोशिश की. बिहार की जनता वो परिवर्तन चाह रही है.
Prominent personalities who cast their votes included BJP national spokesperson Shahnawaz Hussain and JDU national president Sharad Yadav. Both leaders claimed their alliance will get a two-third majority in the elections.
इस 5वें फेज में भी हमारे पास जो खबर आ रही है भारी तादाद में लोग वोट डाल रहे हैं. लोग परिवर्तन के लिए वोट डाल रहे हैं. लोग विकास के लिए वोट डाल रहे हैं. लोग मोदी के साथ हैं.
गाय की पूंछ पकड़ करके यहाँ भी ये चुनाव की बेतरनी पार करना चाहते थे तो उस पर तो हम बोले नहीं ना हुए.
In 2010, the BJP had bagged 23 out of the 57 seats where elections were held today. The JDU, which fought the elections last time in partnership with the BJP, had bagged 20 seats. The RJD of Lalu Prasad Yadav had won 8, the Congress 3, the Lok Jan Shakti Party, which is a BJP ally this time, had won 2 and 1 seat was won by an independent. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Well, joining me for a chat right now is our correspondent Vishal Dahiya from Purnia in Bihar. Well, Vishal, the curtains have finally come down on a month-long affair where, Bihar saw 5 phases of polling. Take us through what happened on this crucial day.
Well, yes, you're right. Finally, that battle for Bihar is over now. What remains is the counting day, the most crucial day, in fact, for which all political parties and their candidates who were in the fray will now be waiting with a bated breath and crossed fingers. But as far as today is concerned, Frank, then there were 57 seats which went to poll today, as we saw in that news report. And today's voter turnout has been the highest. If you look at both this election as well as the comparative analysis with the 2014 Lok Sabha elections. Now, this is a repeat of what exactly happened in these, assembly segments in 2014 Lok Sabha elections. In those elections also, the vote percentage was more than 59% out here, and exactly the same seems to have been repeated with, a bit of a change, if that might happen in the last few minutes with some EVMs which were yet to be sealed till the time the Election Commission did that press conference. Historically, there are some other, historical facts as well. If you look at the facts and figures of these elections, what we got to know from the Election Commission is that there were more than, around 65,000 polling booths in this entire election in these 5 phases. And re-poll happened only on 2 of them. Now, this is something which is a historic achievement for the Election Commission, specifically if you look at, the way elections happened in the state of Bihar. Also, there have been no untoward incidents. There have been, no specific complaints as far as irregularity on polling booths is concerned, and in 5th phase as well there were no such reports. So clearly this has been a very peaceful election, something which will also be recorded in the history of elections which have been held so far in Bihar. That's one achievement as far as both Election Commission and voters are concerned. Now what remains to be seen is that which way the voters have finally moved. Has it been the NDA, or has it been the Grand Alliance, or will some smaller parties hold the key to the seat of power in Bihar? But that is something which is going to be clear only by around 1 or 2 p.m. on 8th when the counting happens.
All right. Vishal Dahiya, we'll have to leave to that. Thank you so much for joining us on the program and sharing your ground report there from Purnia in Bihar. Joining me also right now for a chat is KV Prasad, Associate Editor of the Tribune, and Faizan Ahmed as well, who's the Bureau Chief of the Pioneer, who's joining me live from Patna. A very good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for joining me on the program. Faizan, I'd like to begin with you first, of course. Another day of high voter turnout, almost 60% voter turnout you've seen in the 5th phase as well. And we've seen the Election Commission also coming out and addressing a press conference and saying that it has been the highest ever voter turnout in any election in Bihar.
Yeah, Bihar today must be feeling relieved of the about 2 months of election process. And the Election Commission will be very highly satisfied over this peaceful election. And in the last phase, today, it was the highest turnout, which surpassed the previous 4 phases. Bihar is now on verge of delivering a historic verdict, and its echo will be heard not only in India but also parts of the world.
Indeed. KV Prasad, I want to come to you now. We've seen high voter turnout. What could you attribute to this high voter turnout? Could you say that, the people actually wanted to come out and cast their vote in large numbers so as to ensure that a clear mandate is given? Or for that matter, even the Election Commission's efforts to ensure that have seen several efforts where they've gone and educated people on the ground and actually brought them out in large numbers and made them vote as well. So is it a combination of all these factors, or is it any one factor that you can pinpoint?
No, I would rather go with the theory that it's a combination of factors. It used to be conventional theory once upon a time when we used to report that a higher turnout would always indicate that there is an anger against the government. It is an vote against the government. But that is not necessarily so. Many elections later, it has been proved or disproved that this theory doesn't necessarily stand similar validation. That having said, I think the fact that the number of new voters who come in bring a lot of enthusiasm to it. And not forget, Bihar is one of the most politically conscious states in the country. I think two states where people do notice it is Bihar and UP, the cauldron of as they call the cowbell politics or the Hindi heartland politics. So Bihar has always been a politically very conscious, and they have been very active participants. Well, 50+% was being reported through the 4 phases, but this phase unexceptionally almost touching 60%, 59+. So by the time the final figures come in, could be close to 60. So I guess lots of all these keep adding up. Everybody would have his individual reason why he or she would travel all the way to the polling booth and stand hours in to cast the vote. We'll have to wait. As I said, everybody knows 8th will be the day when the boxes will open or the EVMs will start spewing out the results. But I guess the Election Commission, of course, has done its role, and over the years it has improved its ability to bring more voters to the table, as was proved in Lok Sabha elections and as was proved in subsequent elections to various assemblies, including Bihar.
You know, Faizan, what we've also seen is a high women voter turnout in this particular election, where more than 50% of those who came and cast their vote were actually women. What can be attributed to that? Is it the women-friendly schemes that were brought out by the Nitish government, or is it also because that the population is so high of women because most of the men are out working that these women have come out and voted in such large numbers?
Oh yes, you see, in all the 5 phases, women outnumbered men in all the constituencies and all the polling stations. One reason definitely is the women empowerment schemes launched by Nitish Kumar, including the 50% reservation in Panchayat and Municipal Corporation. And you are right to point out that men folks usually go to work outside Bihar, so they are unable to exercise their vote. But you see, today in 57 constituencies polling was held, and the voting percentage was about 60%. And this phase is going to make or mar the prospects of the two alliances.
Indeed, indeed. All right, gentlemen, do stay with me.
The women voter turn-up, high turn-up will definitely make a difference.
Indeed, it will make a difference, and all will be revealed in just a couple of days' time on Sunday. By 12 noon, we should clearly know which way this election is headed. But do stay with me, gentlemen. I'm going to slip into a short break now, but we'll take your reactions on some more stories that we're tracking here as well. On the other side, we'll take a look at some of the issues that were raked up by political parties during the course of campaigning in the state. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Earthquake-prone country in India, we require a lighter weight building to resist the earthquake as well as the blast force. This foam has a very different characteristics of energy absorption, which gives you strength under the case of blast and impact.
Watch Eureka with Dr. M.D. Goel, scientist at CSIR NEERI, on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, the final phase of Bihar elections came to an end a couple of hours ago. The election campaign for 243 seats lasted for almost 2 months. Let's take a look now at the major issues which became headlines during the polls. RSS called for a review of the reservation policy, slamming the quota system as a political tool. Though BJP ruled out any changes, RSS chief's remark was criticized by the opposition parties, renewing calls to release the caste census data. In Bihar, parties like the JDU and RJD played up the caste factor in their rallies in the run-up to the assembly polls.
The BJP is not in favor of any reconsideration of the reservation being extended to these groups, namely the SC, the ST, the backward caste and the extremely backward caste as enshrined in the Constitution.
साफ साफ हम लोगों ने चेतावनी दे दिया कि लालू के रास्ते, गरीब गुरबा नीतीश के रास्ते अगर रिजर्वेशन पिछड़ा दलित का खत्म करने का नाम दिया तो इन सीट पर जाते हैं।
भारत की एकता और अखंडता को तोड़ना चाहते हैं, जिनका संवैधानिक संस्थाओं में विश्वास कम है, वो लोग और वो संस्थाएं ही इस तरह के वक्तव्य देने पर तुली हुई हैं।
Still with me on the program right now are KV Prasad and Faizan Ahmed. KV Prasad, of course, is the associate editor of the Tribune, and Faizan Ahmed is the bureau chief of the Pioneer in Bihar. You know, KV Prasad, I'd like to bring this issue up with you, of course, and talk about that. The reservation policy issue that was raked up by Mohan Bhagwat then, saw its ugly head being read in Bihar as well. And we knew that it was going to become a political issue there. But do you think it was rightly played out by some of these political parties for their own benefit, of course?
Well, let us be clear that the fact that it was raised by RSS chief added to the entire debate, because coming from a person whose party is taken as a political the ideologue of the BJP-led NDA. This is bound to have not just ripple effect, but cast a lot of... that's why you could see it being raised repeatedly and also being played up by the opposition, saying that, look here, this is what comes from the person who, or the organization which has the ideological moorings, provides the ideological moorings to the BJP. So that was bound to be taken. And remember, Bihar, people always know, like parts of UP, caste does play a major role. And you have, in the past, people know that different castes, different communities do look at it differently. So much so, in between, if you remember, there were arguments and counter-arguments going on the reservation. And in one point of time, the BJP put forward this thing that even Nitish Kumar at one point of time supported reservation for minorities. So you see, everybody was trying to muddy the water, if one may say so, obviously for political gains. And elections are the time when it's very natural for a political party to play upon the fears or play upon these factors.
Indeed. Let's move on to another controversy now, of course, where the BJP chief, Amit Shah's remark that there will be celebrations in Pakistan if his party loses the Bihar Assembly polls was severely criticized by political rivals. Even his own party members were on the back foot when it came to defending their president. Addressing a rally in Raxaul, Shah had said that crackers will be burst in Pakistan if the BJP loses in Bihar.
गलती से भी अगर भारतीय जनता पार्टी बिहार में हार गई तो जय पराजय तो बिहार में होगी, पटाखे पाकिस्तान में जाकर चलेंगे।
अमित शाह नरभक्षी जो है भाजपा का जो अध्यक्ष है, ये बिल्कुल पागल हो गया है। ये पूरे बिहारी लोगों को इसने अपमानित किया है। बिहार की जनता इन लोगों को धूल चटा दिया है हम लोगों ने।
जबकि वो कहते हैं कि पाकिस्तान में पटाखे बजेंगे, मैं उनसे कहना चाहता हूं कि बीजेपी हार गई तो हिंदुस्तान में पटाखे निकाले जाएंगे।
पाकिस्तान का रुख जैसा सकारात्मक होना चाहिए वो नहीं रहा है, ये बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण रहा है। तो शायद इस सोच के आधार पर उन्होंने कहा होगा कि भारत में यदि मजबूत सरकार यदि रहेगी तो शायद ये पाकिस्तान को अच्छा नहीं लगा होगा। शायद इस सोच के आधार पर उन्होंने कुछ कहा होगा।
Faizan Ahmed, initially when the discourse started off in Bihar, it started off, on a different agenda altogether. It started off on the development agenda, your development agenda versus my development agenda. Then slowly we saw, the focus shifting from one issue or the other. And this particular issue also saw a lot of weightage and saw several headlines being made across the country as well. Do you believe that somewhere down the line the political parties lost the plot and then started, focusing too much on emotive issues rather than the real issues on the ground?
That's true. You see, the debate started, the electoral debate started with development by both the alliances. But you see, from the day one, I mean, from the first phase, this reservation issue came up. And this came as handy for, RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat's interview, and his views came handy for RJD and JDU, who racked up this matter that the RSS and the BJP will take away the job quota benefit from the SC, ST and OBC and EBCs. Later on, more issues which were absolutely non-issues like beef and this crackers in Pakistan and this Tantra Mantra and Shaitan and all these kinds of issues became dominant issues all over this election. And the main issue of development died down in this process.
KV Prasad, some of the choicest words were used, like Faizan Ahmad is pointing out, Brahm Pishash, and some of those words that we've never even heard in politics before were used. Do you believe that all this happens in politics and it should just be let go? Or do you think that, in hindsight, some of these politicians wouldn't have used some of these words that they actually uttered?
Well, we don't say it's usually done, but it also reflects the kind of maybe to an element of desperation that you want to do something to get down your message to the voter or get down your message to the people. But in fact, just to remind you, you mentioned of the Pakistan crackers. I think I must compliment Faizan for his story today, which appeared in Pioneer, which talked of a Pakistan in Bihar, a small hamlet, where I think that was a very interesting factor. But that having said, the fact remains, elections people do control, have to have some kind of a sense of understanding on what they're saying. But at times, I think the electoral rhetoric goes out of hand. And this is what we have seen in this election once too often.
Indeed. All right. Okay, let's move on to another issue now. Of course, the BJP made an apparent change in tactic midway through the Bihar polls. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and party president Amit Shah were pushed into the background on posters across the state. Instead, faces of state leaders like Sushil Modi, Nand Kishore Yadav, Giriraj Singh and Rajiv Pratap Rudy donned the new posters to focus on a positive message of stability and development in its campaign. Opposition leaders claimed that some rallies of the Prime Minister have been cancelled because BJP was finding the going tough in the state and wanted to deflect attention from him.
ये मैं हार और हताशा की रणनीति देख रहा हूं भाजपा के अंदर। वो किसी प्रकार चाहते हैं कि एक सुरक्षा कवच तैयार किया जाए मोदी जी और अमित शाह जी के इर्द गिर्द, ताकि अगर जो भयंकर हार हो, भीषण हार हो, उसका ठीकरा इन दोनों महत्वपूर्ण व्यक्तियों पर ना फोड़ा जाए।
सेंट्रल तौर पे कोई पोस्टर किसी लोकल नेता का नहीं था, लेकिन जब अब ये हो गया है कि बिहार की जनता ने रिजेक्ट कर दिया है और एक तरह से साफ हो गया है कि बिहार में बीजेपी बुरी तरह हारने जा रही है, तो अब हार की जिम्मेदारी जो बेचारे गरीब हमारे बिहार के भाजपा नेतागण हैं, उन पर देने की तैयारी हो।
हम लोग का लक्ष्य बिहार को आगे बढ़ाना, साथ चलना। लालू जी, नीतीश जी का लक्ष्य, सोनिया जी का नरेंद्र मोदी को रोकना।
We are completely out of time, so I'm going to get a very quick reaction from both my guests. KV Prasad, I want to get your reaction not on the posters, but on something else, on the advertisements that were banned by the Election Commission. Post that also, there was an advertisement put out by the BJP in the local vernacular media. Do you believe that, stricter action should have been taken, or what went wrong in that whole episode? Because these ads were actually quite crass.
Well, I think the Election Commission did take note of it, and the last order that it had to clear the ads by the Election Commission before being inserted shows the element of concern the poll body had. But in the run-up to elections, there may be complaints by political parties of whatever happened and how things could have been cracked down faster or much more stricter. I'm sure the Election Commission does review all it does during the elections and start tightening things as they go along.
Indeed. And Faizan Ahmad, the last word from you, of course, sudden change of tactics as far as the BJP was concerned. Suddenly, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Amit Shah went to the background and other state leaders came to the foreground. Was it because the BJP somewhere internally felt that they might not be doing too well in the polls as suggested by the opposition parties?
Frankly speaking, I just can't understand what was the thinking of the BJP leadership for not projecting a leader in Bihar. They did not project a face. And so the election contest became a Narendra Modi versus Nitish Kumar throughout from the very beginning. At the later stage, the BJP leadership might have changed some strategy and removed the billboards of Nitish Kumar, Amit Shah and the Prime Minister. But that was, I think, too late for this change in strategy.
Indeed. All right. Completely out of time on the program this evening. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for being a part of the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's it in our special coverage of the elections in Bihar. We'll be back again on the all-crucial counting day on Sunday with day-long analysis and minute-by-minute updates from the entire team here at Rajya Sabha Television and me, Frank Pereira. It's goodbye for now.